Okay. Good morning to everybody on Zoom and in person. So today's class is behind closed doors, and behind closed doors, we're actually behind closed doors today. Although we're on Zoom, we're being recorded. So when we talk about behind closed doors, in regard to intimacy, in regard to marriage, in regard to relationships, it's always very exciting, or we think it's exciting, and we wonder what's going to be spoken about. So here we're going to take you on a little road to talk about the Jewish way that a couple engages in the most intimate moments behind closed doors. And we use the words behind closed doors because that creates the beauty, that creates the joy, that creates the excitement, that creates the rhythm between a husband and a wife. When we call it behind closed doors, because the moment the door is opened and we let in every friend, every family member, even, just small talk in the doctor's office, my husband, or I've seen people going up to the teller with their husband, and their husband is like trying to find his wallet or trying to find a pen, and they say, oh, he never can get things straight. And like you're thinking to yourself, that's an intimate share with a complete stranger. Why do you feel entitled or required to share his shortcomings, that he is never ready when he has to be ready, never can find his card when he needs to find his card, is always awkward in situations? I mean, is that appropriate? That creates an open door situation where you let anybody into your life, creating a distance where there should be a very, very close connection. And so I'll give you an example of a story where closed doors were opened, perhaps unintentional, or you can take the situation and decide what you think. So a friend, not married friend, rings the doorbell of her newly married friend. Okay. Or we'll give it a little bit different. The friend is married, and the friend rings the doorbell of the married friend. Who's calling? The friend is calling. She knows she's a married friend. The girl walks into the house and she sees rose petals at the entrance of the home all the way to the bedroom. And she says, what's this? She goes, that's the way I greet my husband. Okay. Nice. Just a very, very small talk between the two friends. The next day, the tables are turned. The other friend visits her dear friend, and they have a talk. And what's their talk? They say, my bedroom is the holy of holies. We only talk Torah in my bedroom. We never, ever discuss anything that is not Jewish, or anything that is not holy, because we learned that the bedroom is Kodesh Kedashim, the holy of holies. Therefore, this room is designated for only holy talk during holy activity. In your mind, there's two different situations. Which situation requires a little bit of perhaps which situation is worse? The woman that is describing her holy behaviors in her holy space, or the woman that has shown how beautiful her holy space is? In reality, both situations are cheating on your husband. Both situations are opening up a door that should be closed. The rose petals are very beautiful, but you know what? Your friend is coming. You can easily sweep it away. She doesn't have to know how you greet your husband. Now, what's going on behind closed doors, the discussion is for sure nobody's business, even though it seems so holy. What did you create? The one that has rose petals thinks she has the best intimate moment. The other friend that doesn't have rose petals says, oh, I'm doing something wrong. The woman that hears that you're supposed to only talk holy of holy discussions, and she doesn't, also thinks she's doing something wrong. But the two discussions are non-discussed between strangers. They're just not fitting discussions that can help your relationship between your husband grow. You're sharing something that is your style, your intimate style that you have created, that works for you, that is beautiful for you, that is spiritual for you or enticing for you, whatever it is, but it doesn't mean that the other person can fit that mold and needs to fit that mold and needs to know about what is going on in your most intimate moments. And that is where we say this is breach of confidence and this is opening a door that needs to remain closed. However, in keeping the doors closed, we do need to get certain perhaps tips, or we could get certain tips that will help us create a spectacular moment behind closed doors. So firstly, we need to understand that behind closed doors, we find two people that are very different, two people that look different, act different, think different, and might want different things. Therefore, there is a man, there is a woman. Chassidut explains that although the man is different from the woman and the woman is different from the man, there is an equality in the fact that they are both humans and they both have human tendencies that might look different or manifest themselves in very different ways, but they are definitely human tendencies. God has created the human to need certain things, and their needs are real needs, and they may act upon their needs, and they're permitted to act upon their needs. The question is, everybody needs to know what role they play so that they can fulfill their needs or their desires or provide satisfaction for the other. Because if I'm in a marriage means I'm bridging between a male and a female, completely two different creatures, but yet equal creatures, equal but different. We have to understand that it's very important to say that they're equal, but yet different. How do we know they're different? The proof is in the pudding. They were created, the first human being was created, Zachar and Nikeva, a male and a female, two heads, back to back, one body, one heart, one soul. The fact that they were back to back means that they're very different. The fact that there are two heads means that they think differently. They want differently. They perhaps even smell differently. They hear different things and they say different kind of things. However, they definitely are one body, one soul, one heart, and they need to merge. And so God says this way, this first creation of back to back creates that feeling of that they are ultimately one. At the same time that they're ultimately one, they cannot remain back to back. They need to merge and face each other. So God performed that very famous operation where he separated the two. In separating the two, he brought them to face each other and thus creating the possibility of a beautiful merge, a merge that can create and make them one again. V'hayu lebasar echad, and they shall become one flesh, one body, on their own. However, this is all very beautiful and all possible because God created them as one. Therefore, they have the ability to become one. But we're in a world where there is good, there is bad, which means evil and purity. So there is that concept of that we do have certain obstacles that will get into the way of what's supposed to be a perfect relationship. The obstacles could be jealousy, hard feelings, physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, abuse. There can be a screaming match. There can be a man that comes late to his wife's birthday party. There can be all kinds of situations because we are in a world where sometimes we forget our priorities. Sometimes we forget where is our allegiance. Sometimes we forget why we're here and that we have engaged, we are in a marriage and we've promised to be, we've promised to be there for each other. So in such a world where there is the possibility of disturbance, turbulence, outside, shall we say, influence, there needs to be some kind of law and rules and decorum, what will happen behind closed doors, and make sure that what happens behind closed doors is so sacred, is so holy, is so spectacular that although the rest of the world is full of pollution, our bedroom is unpolluted. Our bedroom is sacred. Our bedroom is pure, holy, and does not allow for anything else to filter in that can possibly disturb or create havoc in our relationship. And so what I've done here is I'm going to share the screen with you. I have created, or just, we can all use our imagination to see how we can create an ABC to a healthy marriage, little tools, little things that we can incorporate and we can introduce into our relationship that can help create a pure, happy, stable, wonderful relationship. Before we actually share the screen, I just want to mention one thing. We mentioned that the male and female are different. How does that difference manifest itself? It manifests itself by explaining what is their greatest asset. And we'll say that the male's asset is that he is what we call a mashpia. A mashpia is the influencer, if you wish, or we would say the initiator. Or in practical terms, we can almost say the donor. Very, very outright, the donor of the sperm. What is the female's position? The female is what we call the mekabel. She's the recipient. She receives. And so the two have different roles, but you can't be a donor if there's nobody here to receive. You can't receive if nobody's giving. So basically the two actually work together in a beautiful rhythm that creates that oneness. Now, in real life, the way life used to be, life used to be, the man was a donor. He worked outside of the home. He brought home the dough. He brought home the $5. The woman went to the market. She bought whatever she was able with the $5, and she created $20 worth of a meal. So she received that $5 and she developed it. Like she receives the sperm, and then what happens? There's a conception, and the baby blossoms within her and is growing and growing and growing until that little nothing of a sperm created this spectacular, beautiful, perfect child with every detail, with the eyebrows and the eyelashes in place, etc., etc. So we recognize that that is the way God created and made the differences between the male and the female. Today, though, we can say, hey, that no longer always works, because if the male works out of the home, she receives the $5 and beautifies the home. But today, both of them might be working outside of the home. So she might be making more than he's making. He might be putting on an apron and making dinner because he comes home 3 hours earlier and she is outside on the workforce. So now who is who? It becomes a little tricky. And that's where we say that years ago, there was this pasha that sat on his throne and says, give me that, I want it bigger, I want it better. And today, the women are not sitting down and taking that. We need a cleaning help at home. We need equal partnership. I'll do morning carpool, you do the afternoon carpool. I'll do carpool on Monday and Tuesday, you do carpool Wednesday and Thursday. We somehow recognize that that separation of the two in such a harsh way won't work. And even God recognized it. When God originally made the male and the female, they were back to back. But immediately he says, lo tov, that's not good. They need to face each other. They need to become one. So although perhaps the man is the donor of the sperm and the female is receiving it, at the end of the day, what creates the most beautiful relationship? When the two join and become one. And when they're one, it's like, you ever notice when it's raining and there's a puddle, and then it stops raining, but it's still dripping. So now the drops are dripping into the puddle. Can you dissect the drop that came into the puddle, or the two merge and become one? And that's what really is supposed to happen in a beautiful marriage, where the two actually merge and become one. And it doesn't matter if he took out the garbage in the morning and he takes out the garbage in the afternoon, and perhaps in the evening. It's okay if that's what she needs, if her back hurts. It's not like, this is my role, this is your role, and the two don't merge. Today, roles do merge. However, behind closed doors, where the male is a male and the female is a female, our role is to give that male the leeway, the ability, the possibility of taking his role seriously and being able to carry his role out to the end. In other words, let him be the mashpia. Let him initiate. Let him be the giver. Let him start. Do not stand there like an iceberg, frozen, and not respond. You need to be able to follow the lead and follow his rhythm and respond along with him. Because if you're standing there frozen, he's not able to do what he does best. He enjoys giving you. You enjoy getting it. And when both of you are doing the best that you can, that you are the best recipient of his love, and he is the best giver of his love, what happens is you end up merging and you both give to each other. And that is when the union actually takes place. And so when a man is not looking for a provocative woman that is a slut, a man is looking for a refined woman that is going to receive. When you see a rose, you say, oh, wow, it's a red rose. It's so, it's like the color is screaming in my face. And that red rose is like so untamed and so not refined. Or you say, wow, it's beautiful. A rose is supposed to be red. That's the natural color. A woman is supposed to be sensuous. A woman is supposed to be beautiful. A woman is supposed to be an attraction to her husband, but she's not supposed to be this provocative prostitute that is throwing herself in a way where she is reversing the role. He's not looking for that. He's looking to have a mutual relationship where everybody knows what their role is and everybody does exactly what they're supposed to do. And that's what makes the most beautiful relationship. Now, it is true that we sometimes try out different ways of enjoyment. Are we allowed to enjoy behind closed doors? Absolutely. We're supposed to enjoy. God wants us to enjoy. When we are happy, we behind closed doors will be happy out of those closed doors. We'll create the most beautiful relationship for our family, for our children, for ourselves. And if there's a healthy relationship behind closed doors, there will be a healthy relationship out of the closed doors. And so it's very, very important to create the best possible situation behind closed doors. Is it always going to be the same for me? Is it always going to be fabulous for me? It could and it should. And again, every month we are different. Our bodies are different. Our moods are different. Our hormones are different. Male have hormones, female have hormones. Everybody has different feelings. Everybody has different moments in time where they react differently. You know that we might have 5 children that we gave birth to. 3 boys, 2 girls. But remember when these kids came home, they might have come home at different times. Every child needs a different approach. And every child needs a different kind of a hug, a different kind of a smile, a different word. No child is the same. Same is with no month is the same. No time is the same. Every time is going to be a little bit different. But the question is, how will you approach every single time that you are together? Now, it also is, you're going to, the results that you're going to obtain are actually the results that you're going to create. If you are eager, you will see back. We say, kamayim hapanim el hapanim. When you put your face in front of the water, there's a mirror image. The mirror doesn't lie. So if you're going to project eagerness, you're going to receive eagerness. If you're going to project coldness and anger, that's the mood. So yes, we do have a very special role as recipients. You know, if somebody gives you a gift and you throw it on the floor because you just don't like it, what do you think? How is the donor of the gift going to feel? Part of the enjoyment is to see the face of the recipient. And if the face of the recipient is not happy, you almost feel like, oh my God, I just spent $150 for what? For who? Like, it's like, it was such a waste, and you feel worse than the recipient that doesn't like the gift. So we do have a very important role that we do create a mood, and the mood is fed off each other. So we're talking now to women, but you have to understand that the man also is responsible to create the mood. He cannot create the mood when he comes behind closed doors. That mood already has to project the moment he steps into the house. But when he steps into the house and says, hi, I'm home, and you throw the broom in his face and say, sweep the floor, you just set the tone and you just set the mood for everything that's going to happen behind closed doors as well. So it's important for you to recognize that we have equal roles, different roles, important roles, private roles. We'll take a moment to, let's see here. We're going to share with our listeners. Okay, something that I prepared for you, and I call it the ABC to a healthy marriage. And we're literally going through the ABC, which is something that, it's something that you can always add. It's just things that come to mind of what is important. And we can go take the first thing, the A, which is attitude. And this is what we just explained, the attitude of how you greet your husband behind closed doors, in public territory. always, what is your attitude? Is it a positive attitude? Is it a negative attitude? Is it an angry attitude? Is it attitude? When you say, don't give me attitude, what do you mean? It's body language. Attitude can just be like, the way you're always angry. You're always like, you give me those eyes that want to shoot at me or kill me. Like, that's attitude. So attitude is, it's in your disposition, the way you talk, but it's also in how the messages that your body says, even if it's not spoken. Attention. I think I've shared this so many times with people, but this is something that really formed and shaped my marriage. And I was a young girl, and we lived in a duplex. My mother's an only daughter. We lived upstairs, my grandparents lived downstairs. And so it was like one family. And we never went to school without kissing my grandparents goodbye, and them having to tell us, remember where you come from, remember how you should behave in school. It was like, and then coming home with an embrace. But we would visit, we were in a small duplex, 8 children upstairs, and they were 2 people downstairs. So there was a lot more space, and we wanted a little bit of attention. We would go to our grandparents, right? I once walk in to my grandparents' house, and my grandmother opens the door and she says, shh, your grandfather is talking now to the Rabbanit Chaya Mushka. He was very, very close to her. If you want, you can sit in the dining room and listen, but you cannot talk. I said, okay. This was exciting. I knew that my grandfather spoke to the Rabbanit 3 or 4 times a day, but to be actually privileged and to hear, and they're having a conversation, and it's in Yiddish. And at one point, the conversation ends very abruptly. And anybody that remembers the old-fashioned, rotary dial phones, black receiver, my grandfather's left with the receiver like in his hand. And he said to me that she hung up on him. Why? And this is the message. He never would call her when she was with the Rebbe. It was only at times that the Rebbe was in 770. All of a sudden, at a time that was not the time, the Rebbe walked in and she said 3 words, my guest just walked in. She said in Yiddish, my gast is jetzt rein. Bang, over. That's the attention that a man deserves and a man needs, and at the same time that you deserve and that you need. If he would forget your birthday, if he would not write your card, or if he would send it a month later because he thought it was a month later, how would you feel? If he's always on his cell phone, always on his telephone, when he should be at the table and the kids are waiting eagerly for dad to be home, but he's on his phone, so there's no attention. So nobody's getting attention. So the attitude is down the hill. The attention is 0. I know that a lot of couples have instituted phones are off at dinner time. Kids appreciate it. Spouses appreciate it. It's Shabbat. From 5 to 6, it's Shabbat. No phones allowed. Let's give 100% attention to each other. Everybody feels validated. Everybody feels warranted. Everybody feels good. And that creates an affection where if we have positive attitude and we give each other attention, what are we showing? What are we proving? That we love each other, that we care for each other, that we're really the most, and it could be the most important deal of the day. You've been waiting for that phone call, but if that phone call came through, you have 2 choices. You can ignore it because you know the number, you can call back, or you can ask your wife, this is the deal that we've both been waiting for. What do you say? Should I take it? And she's also eager, you're including her, you are allowing her inside that moment. And so you're showing that you're giving her that attention, and that because of the affection you have for each other, you want to know what's her advice. Should you take that call? And if she says, you know what, now's not the time, now's not the time. And if she says, go ahead, then you know that she's excited for you to be on the phone right now. But I've heard too many stories where, The distraction of the phone behind closed doors and out of closed doors has really become a huge, huge problem. And the way that we can fix that problem is to put into our mind, Shabbat. Just like Shabbat, I would never dare to open up that phone. I walk through the home, and this is to the man and the woman equally, because we're all addicted. And we got a WhatsApp, and then that annoying WhatsApp with those 3 question marks, like you didn't answer within 5 minutes. Hello, you're ignoring me. The only person you're not allowed to ignore is your own spouse. And so you are allowed to be busy. What happened years ago when nobody had cell phones, when you were on a road trip for 8 hours and you would have to go to a payphone to tell your mother, I'm arriving in an hour if she'll pick up the phone. You didn't know she'll pick up the phone. They knew you left at 8 o'clock in the morning. Your expected time of arrival is 6 o'clock in the evening. And that's it. And they trust that everything's okay. We don't need to always be in touch and let everybody know on Facebook, checking into Doorbell Airport. That's also telling me checking into my bedroom. Like, what is that? It's nobody's business. We move along to B, blossoming. A relationship can never be plateau, status quo, on an even plane. We're always going uphill or we're growing. And so what's the sign of life? That there's a blossom, that the flower is blossoming, that the flower is showing its beauty. So we can start off in the relationship one way, and it was good for an introduction. It was good for a beginning, but if it's the same way every single month, the flower is going to wilt. So we need to create life and blossoming and growth. And how does that happen? When we believe in each other. Believing in each other is that I can trust your opinion. I trust that what you're doing is for the best of both of us. And so that is also a key ingredient to a relationship, to believe that her decision is going to benefit both of us. Now, of course, there's conversation, there's communication, but we can communicate and be blue in our face. And if I don't believe in you because I married such a stupid woman, or I married such a stupid man, everything he does fails, it's one of his dreams. Believe in his dream, feed his dream, water his dream, because you know what? Those dreams will become a reality if you believe in it. If you say, oh, what a dreamer, nothing you ever, then of course he's going to become into nothing. So we need to believe in each other. And I can tell you, I'm proof in the pudding. I can remember coming in 35 years ago in a small little duplex, and my husband saying one day, we can't live in this duplex anymore, like being this, we have to grow and we have to go into a center. And I said, how are we going to pay for this center? What are we too little in our early 20s? And he had the vision, and it was the Rabbanitz Shloshim, 30 days since her passing. He said, that's it. And we were going to pay $800 for our first locale. And I was thinking, oh my God, $800, how are we going to do that? That's like, but that was the beginning of our growth. It was a dream, believing and following and encouraging that dream to grow so that the relationship blossoms. Be real. What does it mean, be real? Natural. You don't have to show off for him. He doesn't have to show off for you. Meaning that, yes, at home, we tend to throw off our shoes and wear comfortable clothing. We need to look good for each other, but we need to be real. We need to be honest. We need to be who we really are and say what I really mean. Being real means don't beat around the bush. Don't give him hints and talk in riddles and expect him to understand what your riddle is. Maybe it worked with your friends, that riddles, but you know what? Men don't take very well to riddles. And guess what? Women are also always assuming that if they're gonna shrug their shoulder, it's automatically going to turn on a bell in Monsieur, and he says, okay, that shrug of the shoulder means a hug. It means a hug. But if you're not going to say it honestly, the way right now, I need a hug, he doesn't know what's in your mind. The beauty is, as your relationship blossoms, he gets to understand that shrug of the shoulder, that that is the beauty. As we blossom, we don't necessarily always need words. We can just look at each other and say, you know, how many times we look at each other as a child is playing and we have that mutual look that's called a nachat look, you know, or we have a mutual look like, oh, there she goes again, talk, you know, about a child or about a business associate or whatever it is. So we do have an unspoken language that develops, but it can develop as we grow into that relationship and as we blossom, believe in each other, be real. And of course, very, very, very important, consideration. We tend to consider every person outside of our home. We're very polite to the neighbor, to the gardener, to the teller. You know, we're nice people. What about Ahavat Yisrael starting in our home and giving our spouse the same consideration that we give the stranger that's bringing an Amazon package, you know? And that is sometimes it's hard because we have a little bit of a baggage because, you know, he was supposed to bring me coffee in bed and I asked for it, but he forgot. He forgot. He went to the bathroom, never came out because he's on his phone. So now I asked him for coffee. He said he's coming. I'm in bed waiting for my coffee. He ran to the bathroom. He's stuck there for 15, 20 minutes. I get out, make my own coffee. By the time he comes down and says, you want coffee? I'm so angry. And I have zero tolerance or consideration. So again, possibly he needed the bathroom very badly, as it can happen to us. Possibly he needed to relax, so he took his phone with him. Better in the bathroom than out of the bathroom, but possibly that was the reason. So let's try to give each other the benefit of the doubt and talk about it. Did you perhaps forget? And sometimes it's an honest, oh my God, I completely forgot that you're waiting for coffee. Je m'excuse, mechila, mechila. I really, really did forget. So that is where we give each other consideration and of course, concern. We're concerned the person's having a test, the person's meeting a very big business associate. Do I remember? Do I call to find out how it was? Are we concerned because he has a sniffle? Are we concerned because he's limping? Are we concerned because he's not happy in himself? Are we showing concern, compassion for one another? This is something, a key ingredient in a relationship to tune into the other. And when we're talking to women, so I'm saying, are we for him? But again, this is ABC for a partnership. So everybody needs to learn the ABC and we both need to have concern for the other. Now, there's often that we're going to say, I feel like I am the one that is always concerned. I am the one that's always believing. And, it sometimes can be that one partner is more of an initiator than the other. And again, that's where very, very important. We need to, we'll skip to conversation for a second, which really should go into communication. If you feel that you are always showing concern and you are always compromising and you are always, being the one to consider the other, you can talk about it. And chances are that women are more of a conversationalist and more of communicators, and men are good listeners. They do not listen or they do not take well to screaming, which is hard for us because we're so emotional that there are times that we scream our messages. And when we scream our messages, they shut down. So at a time that we are communicating, we have to recognize that that communication needs to be communicated perhaps when when the balloon somehow lost some of its air, when we're a little bit more relaxed and calm, so that our communication skills that we already own, that we have, will be received so much better, and will actually have long-lasting existence. You know, a woman looks and watches and sees and knows, and she watches once and sees how her husband likes his tea or his coffee, and she'll always say, do you want me to make your coffee? And she knows exactly how he likes it. Men are not into details. And although you make your coffee every day in front of him, and one day you're sick and you expect him to know, but if you never said, I want 1 round teaspoon of Nescafe with a half a teaspoon of sugar and a half a teaspoon of honey, and I want you to mix the spoon, mix the cup, he doesn't know. But if you say it once, they are good listeners and they learn very fast. And they'll be more than happy to give you the coffee in bed if they know how to do it right. But communicate. So again, if you have a concern because you feel like you are giving a lot and you're not receiving, we need to have a conversation. Now, we skipped from compromise to conversation. We'll go back to cheer. What does it mean, cheer? You know, who sets the tone? You can have, you're taking your kids to school and one child says, I need to drink. And so he goes into the fridge and pours himself a cup of milk, and half of the bottle is on the floor. So now we have a situation. Scream at this child, you dunce, you're so like you're awkward and you're always, you can't do anything right, and you don't know how to pour in a simple cup of milk, and why did you ask me, and screaming, and that child day is ruined. Or the famous milk dance. Okay, kids, let's dance around the milk, and here everyone grab a paper towel, and together we're cleaning up the milk. We walk into the car, everybody's happy, everybody's cheery. A woman has a natural instinct and a natural power to create a cheery environment in her home. And that would be by having music play. That would mean by allowing for the house to get messy, because kids are normal and they want to play with toys, and it's okay if the toys are everywhere. It's that creates a happy home. And so if the husband does come home and puts his coat on the couch for a second until he straightens his tie or takes off his jacket or removes his tie, it's like, it's okay. Don't scold him. Let's give a cheery, happy attitude as for each other. Let's project that in the home. And the same is with the spouse. He walks in and he's cheery and he's happy and he shows that I want to be here, that I couldn't wait. I was stuck in traffic for an hour. I'm so glad I am home now. Everybody's cheery, everybody's happy, everybody's feeling relaxed. I see that we did go over the compromise, which compromise is so crucial. It's like one of, like, if I don't know any ABCs, this word compromise is very, very essential in a relationship where we always are compromising, compromising at work, compromising in school, compromising with a child. We know how to compromise. Somehow, when it comes to compromise with our spouse, we are always saying, no, it's my way or the highway. And what does it mean, a compromise? A compromise means don't compromise on, you know, a person says to me, he says, how do I know if I should go into this relationship? I said, okay, so there's certain things you can write yourself a list and say, hey, certain things I'd like to have in a spouse, certain things I dream about in having a spouse, certain things I cannot tolerate. In other words, certain things are essential and non-negotiable, but then there's certain things that are negotiable. And a lot of things are negotiable in a relationship. So whatever, if I see the man in front of me, that what he has, I cannot live with, okay, so he's not for me, because for me, this is not negotiable. You're allowed to have a few things that are not negotiable when it comes to your faith, when it comes to your, your belief in God, in the Torah, or even in the way you're being treated. There's no room for abuse. There's no room for talking without respect. So if a person at a first date is disrespectful, that's not negotiable. You don't need that. You don't need that in your life. But once the man is in your life, once you are within each other, what are we talking? What's the compromise? One Shabbat by his parents, one Shabbat by your parents. What would be the compromise? This child I'll name after my side, this child will name after your side. These are compromises that we can live with. This Passover, we're going to go to your side of the family, and next we'll go to my side of the family. Or the first, all of these are, and the same is also in his choice of work. He likes to do something. It's not making a lot of money, but he has a drive in that, and he's good in that. So, but it's a little compromise on the income. But if he's happy, then we are able to survive. We're not going to be millionaires, but he's so happy in what he's doing and he does it well, that we're going to compromise on extra money or a happy man. So that's also a healthy compromise that we're talking, where we need him to feel good about himself. We need him to have, and the same is with the wife. If at a point, or how about another compromise? Man and woman want to work. The woman's having children. She's having children one after the other, but she's still going to work. And what happens in the interim? She's nervous when she comes home. She can't take care of her kids. Groceries are never done. Laundry is never done. The house is a mess. There's not enough help in the house. So we have to compromise. What now? What do I want? Right now, I am in an age where I am creating a family. That's huge. That's a huge thing. It takes a huge toll on the body. It takes a huge toll on my nerves, on everything. So yes, going out of the house is an outlet where I can forget about what's in the house. But then when I come home, everybody becomes what we call the Korban Pesach. Everybody becomes a sacrifice because I don't have the strength. It's either this or that. That's where we need to have a conversation. What now? Do we take a year break and we'll compromise on our income? Because right now the kids need us. The kids didn't ask to be born. We decided to have these children. We need to take care of them. So if the compromise can be that, yeah, she needs an outlet, so her outlet can be going out with a coffee to her friend, with her friends, going to a class. She needs outlets. You cannot coop up a woman in today's day and age and say, okay, you're having children, stay home. That's also where there's a compromise. But the question is, which compromise? The man says, I really appreciate that extra money, but right now, extra money would be stay home to take care of your kids, which you want. You can do that best. And then we'll go out together at night. We'll do things. We'll go on vacation together. You won't be tied down because you have a job. So we have more leeway. So again, conversation leads to compromise. Compromise makes everybody happy. And sometimes might need to bite my lip a little bit in recognition that he's right or she's right. How about if one of the spouses is going through a difficult time with a parent, an ailing parent, which would mean that spouse is homeless? That would also render a compromise that, at this time, this month is a difficult month, because who should be in the hospital if not for the son, more than normal? So he's out of the house more than normal, but I understand. I care for his father. And I know that he cares for his father. So I'm going to make it as easy as possible for him to do what he has to do now, which would also be a healthy compromise. So companionship, sometimes we're great friends in dating. We're great friends up until we get under the chuppah. After that, okay, the friendship is over, and now he's throwing the socks on the floor and he doesn't make his bed, and it starts World War III. So we have to recognize that companionship is a must and is an integral part in a relationship. Even if we walk around the block every evening for 5 minutes and enjoy a moment of companionship where we're away from the hoo-ha and we're only here for ourselves. The companionship, of course, takes place behind closed doors. Companionship takes place and, making, he travels a lot for business. Organize your time where I can get somebody to take care of my kids so we can have a nice trip together, even if it's a 3-day where we can, fuel our relationship. Very, very important. I would say even to go out on a date, even if it's once a week. Sometimes you can't afford the once a week, once in 10 days, once in 2 weeks, but to look forward to know that we're going out together. So these are important things to nourish. Discussion. So conversation and discussion is really identical things, but what the difference is, you can have a conversation, but when you discuss something, that means that you are in that discussion, there is a back and forth, meaning a back and forth. Sometimes that discussion is not going to be an easy discussion. Conversation would be, we're having a conversation, we're communicating, but I have to discuss something with you. It sounds a lot more serious than, oh, we're having a nice conversation. At the restaurant, it's a conversation. A discussion is, like, okay, where are we sending our kids to school? Or, what are we buying a house? Are we not buying a house? The car, it's serious. It takes, it would mean that your entire attention span is on this discussion. You have to make decisions that need both of you to be very, very deep inside. Depth means that we can often have a very shallow relationship where we don't share meaningful things with each other. Doesn't understand anyways. I'll leave that to my parents. If it's anything meaningful or anything deep, my mother, my father, my friend, he won't get it. How many times do we hear that underlying feeling of hurt that I'm talking to the walls anyways, he doesn't get it. Anything that's deep, it's like way over his head, but you are underestimating and you're undervalued. You're not validating and valuing your husband, and you really are not sharing what's deep within your heart with him. So if you cannot unload from deep within, you're just having a very shallow relationship. And sometimes that shallow relationship, it's going to take its toll and it's going to feel like we're not going anywhere. So we need to get very, very deep. The way the Torah says that v'hayu lebasar echad, we must become one body, one flesh. It means once we strip physically, we have the ability to strip emotionally. And what that means is just like we are together, and there is nothing in between us. There is no barrier. It's body to body. There cannot be any barriers from our mind. There cannot be anything that we're not disclosing to the other. And that's what a deep conversation means. That I'm actually sharing, I'm spilling my guts, and that's okay. And that's what it creates. And sometimes spilling my guts means I am shedding. I'm really like, I'm showing you the true me, and it means like a nakedness in a way. When we say that Adam and Chava were arumim, they were naked in the Garden of Eden, and they were not embarrassed. We say, what is that? That's a perfect relationship. There's no room for embarrassment in a relationship, and there's no room for barriers. So this is when God created the first perfect couple, first perfect couple were born naked, because that's what happens behind closed doors. Naked means in every aspect. It means that deep inside of us, there's nothing hidden, nothing that's creating a barrier between us. And that demands details. That every detail in preparing dinner, in preparing a good conversation, in getting ready to make behind closed doors meaningful and exciting. Details are important. Although men are not necessarily detail oriented, They do appreciate the details that you've put in to creating a beautiful home, or perhaps the details you tell them in how your day went. And then you will teach them how to give you details about how their day went. You think always that only you're hurt or only you need, they need to hear from you as well. In other words, just like you want to hear things from them, they want to hear things from you. They don't want you to hide things from them, and they want you to be detail oriented. Halacha demands, all the halacha between a husband and wife is about details. The 5 days, the 7 days, the internal inspection, it's all details. What we can do, where we can sit, how we serve our spouses, isn't that details? And if we're meticulous with details, we will reap the benefits. We will be able to, what does it mean, a detail? A detail can mean also that every time he touches me, just brushes his finger on my finger, that little detail does send a shiver down my spine. Whenever we make a contact, just a detailed contact, a drop of a contact, because we have a very, very serious, strong relationship going on. Of course, devotion. There has to be we're devoted to each other and not to anybody out of those closed doors. That means our devotion is firstly, firmly for our spouse. And believe it or not, when we're faced with that question, devotion to my spouse or devotion to my child, halacha will tell you, you owe everything to your spouse. Your child one day will have their spouse. So just an example, a woman is nursing a baby. The nursing is causing her to stain. She can never get to the mikvah. The baby's already 19 months old. The baby's eating everything. The nursing is just a sus. Question is now, I'm not going to the mikvah. We're both frustrated. We're both suffering. Who do I have allegiance? The child needs me. The child is sucking for me. No. Child doesn't need you. You need your husband. He needs you. You're going to make a decision. Stop cold turkey. Child is going to survive. There are bottles out there. There's food out there. The child is already enjoying food. He just likes, so that halachically, if you have that, or we don't have to go even deeper. God forbid. If we're going to a point where my child gives me an ultimatum and says, listen, I'm not staying home if your husband is home. Children do this sometimes in a second marriage. And we have to make a decision. I'm very happy with my husband. He's very good to this child. This child just doesn't like this new husband in my life. Again, it's a halachic question, but your allegiance is to your husband. Again, provided that everything's healthy. Everything, we can't take it out of context. If we're in a healthy relationship and there is a spoiled brat out there that wants something and he's not calling the shots. We're calling the shots in our home to create, again, we shouldn't get there, but just to explain to you that our devotion is primarily to our spouse. And this does happen very often where children get very, very upset when a widowed mother finds, a few years later, finds a husband and she's alone and she needs to be. And so now where's allegiance? The children are out of the home anyways. They might be married. And I finally found somebody to fill for companionship. We're not even talking for anything else, just companionship, not to be alone. Are the children allowed to call the shots? Absolutely not. What's the halacha? Get married. That's what's good for you. You're alone at night. They're not alone at night. And again, this could happen. So the devotion is to each other. Expression is, I really should be expressing, meaning express yourself. Don't suppress yourself. Do not keep your feelings in and don't communicate. So it builds up and builds up and builds up. And I have a whole file on you. That file causes a lot of harm and it creates a deterioration in the relationship. So we need to really use our mouth to express ourselves. And again, focus on each other, focus on our relationship, complete focus. This is what we're doing. We're married, we're building together, we're devoted to each other. And the key word is to forgive. Whoa, that is huge, huge, huge. Learn to forgive. Forgive should come with really forget. Don't keep bringing it up every month. If you forgave, and it's washed away and you can go on with it. Again, forgiving. What are you forgiving? You forgave that he came late to a party. He was stuck in traffic. That could happen to you. There are certain things that are unforgivable. What can be things that are unforgivable? Unforgivable is he forgot to come home for 2 days. Hello, that's unforgivable. Where is he? Oh, he decided to go to his mom without telling me, two streets away. What's going on? We need to have a talk. Something is definitely wrong over here. And so we go straight to verbring. Verbring is where it's just a Yiddish word to have like a bullshove type of a thing, a back and forth in positive, focused atmosphere where we're going to grow from it. We're losing time, so we're going to go a little bit quicker. A lot of things are very, very easy to understand. Gratitude, to say thank you to your husband, to say thank you to your wife, to be gracious to each other, to be giving, hearing, sometimes humor, finding humor in a difficult situation. Humility, understanding that I'm wrong and accepting that he might sometimes scold you in a way of love, so having that humility to accept it, and the same is for him to accept him. Inspiration, feeding off each other, intelligent conversations, integrity, which we honesty, interaction, which is having an that's just that life should be interactive, meaning that we're including each other into everything through kindness, through learning, through listening, loyalty, nurturing and nourishing and overcoming shortcomings, and offering sometimes advice, and offering to help, and offering to sometimes move in. He's having difficulty at work. He's moving. Offer your assistance. Offer your qualifications. Offer your organization. Have patience that things are. Don't automatically think, okay, it has to be instant. Be polite. Be positive. Enjoy quality time. And sometimes quality time means you don't have to talk. It's quiet time, just sitting in the car together on a drive, and not feeling that pressure of I have to talk to him, otherwise he's going to think that I'm boring. When so that quiet time means that you're comfortable with each other. So that's really great. Of course, having a mutual respect and being reasonable and rational, remembering important dates, making resolutions not to do those mistakes again and again, giving each other space to think, space when they need the space, but God gave us in our month time to give each other space, create stability, be sincere, sometimes sacrifice something that you want to do because he really wants it. Give him security and give each other security. Incorporate Torah learning, make time for each other, to be together, utilizing every opportunity to learn, unwinding together again with quiet time, upgrading. Upgrading means spending more and more time, spending more and more attention, upgrading your level, verbalizing, again, communication, valuing each other, validating his feelings, projecting warmth, willingness, welcoming his worth, using your words wisely, giving extra attention to halacha, yielding, and zoom in and out. In when he deserves a compliment, out when you say, okay, I'm not looking at this right now. I know this is his little pet peeve, and we're not going to pay attention. We're going to ignore it because it's not going to change and it doesn't really matter. And so a little bit of an ABC that you are free to adopt in your marriage. And it can really help a lot and create your own ABC. I'm sure you have words that might have slipped me, And these are words that I have thought of, but I'm sure there's plenty of other words that you can think of. Oh, okay, Lily said I didn't show you the whole page. Okay, I'm going to try again. Here we are. We'll show you one more time the full page. Okay, I don't even know how to do this again. Anyways, have a wonderful day, and stay tuned for tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Rivka Slonim that is going to talk about, we spoke about the halacha in head covering, but she's going to talk about the Kabbalah of head covering. And we also have, I have to see if there's Rivka. Oh, we have Rabbi Banon tomorrow. Rabbi Banon at 10 o'clock, continuing on 10 to 11:15 in person, and Rivka Slonim is on Zoom, but yeah, 10 o'clock in person. Okay, so all the best to everybody.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I wish I had this 50 years ago.
Never too late.
Rabbi Banon is in French.
In French, Rabbi Banon is in French, and Mrs. Slonim is in English. Okay, I hope you get the full page now, Lily, and I have to go to my next meeting. So have a wonderful day.
Take care.
Take care, bye. You can take something to eat. I don't know, everything was